Ever wonder what it takes to stand tall when the world tries to make you feel small? Don't spill the Bordeaux. You couldn't afford it. The sneer cuts through the hum of the upscale Manhattan restaurant, sharp and loud, coming from the VIP table, where a man in a tailored suit leans back with a smirk. To the rich folks in that gilded hall, the young waitress is nothing, a shadow moving through their world of crystal and caviar, unworthy of their glance. Her name is Anna Carter, but nobody cares to know it. She's just the help. Her plain black uniform, slightly wrinkled. Her dark hair pulled back in a no-nonsense ponytail. No makeup, no jewelry, just a quiet kind of beauty that doesn't scream for attention. But what happens when chaos crashes through the doors, and the nobody? Everyone ignored becomes the only one standing. Minutes later, when 3 armed robbers crash through the doors and the whole room hits the floor in panic, Anna stands alone, calm as stone. In just 15 seconds, she takes down all 3. Her movements sharp and precise, revealing a Navy Special Forces past nobody could have guessed. The billionaire at the corner table watches, stunned, and the room falls silent, their judgment exposed. Like a raw wound, Anna is 25, with a face that feels familiar, like someone you'd known in another life. Not glamorous, not polished, just real. Her eyes, a deep hazel, have a way of seeing through you, like she can read the room without trying. She moves with purpose, every step deliberate, her hands steady, even when carrying a tray stacked with delicate glasses. Lissiel isn't just any restaurant, it's a fortress of wealth, where the chandeliers glitter like frozen rain and the air carries the faint scent of truffle oil and privilege. The patrons are the kind who don't just dine, they perform, their laughter and clinking glasses a show of power. Anna doesn't fit here, not in their eyes. Her scuffed black flats, her lack of polish, her silence, it all marks her as an outsider. They don't know she'd been raised in a world just as elite, in a family that owned half the skyline, taught to carry herself with restraint and dignity. But Anna walked away from that life, choosing simplicity over status. And now she pays the price for it every shift. She's been at Lissiel for 7 months, taking the late shifts, the ones where the tips are good, but the customers are brutal. Her coworkers like her, mostly because she doesn't stir drama. She clears tables in silence, nods at their complaints, and never snaps back. No matter how cruel the jab, it isn't weakness, it's choice. Anna has seen real stakes, places where a wrong move costs lives, not just egos. She's learned to pick her battles, and these people, with their designer bags and cutting remarks, aren't worth her energy. But that night, the air feels heavier, like the world is holding its breath. The VIP table is louder than usual, their voices carrying over the soft jazz playing in the background. Anna moves through the room, her tray balanced, her face blank, but her eyes miss nothing. The man who sneered about the Bordeaux is Richard Vance, mid-50s, with slicked-back gray hair and a gold Rolex that catches the light every time he gestures. He's a hedge fund king, the kind who talks about market volatility like it's a personality trait. His wife, Candace, sits beside him, her red dress tight, her lips glossy, her smile sharp enough to cut glass. She's the type who'd compliment your shoes while making sure you know they're cheap. Across from them is Derek, a crypto bro with a tan too perfect for New York winters, and his girlfriend Lauren, whose blonde highlights and diamond earrings scream new money. They're the worst kind of table out, entitled, and itching to make someone feel small. Anna is their favorite target. As Anna approaches with a fresh bottle of wine, Richard holds up his glass, inspecting it like a jeweler. "You missed a spot," he says, pointing to an imaginary smudge. "Guess they don't teach cleaning in whatever backwater you crawled out of." The table laughs, Candace's giggle the loudest. Anna pauses, her fingers brushing the bottle's neck, then sets it down with a soft clink. "I'll get you a new glass," she says, her voice even, her eyes steady. She turns away, but not before Lauren leans toward Derek, loud enough for Anna to hear. She's got no class. Bet she's never even been to a place like this, except to scrub the floors. Anna's shoulders don't tense. Her stride doesn't falter, but her hand lingers on the edge of her tray, knuckles pale for just a moment. The manager, Greg, is no better. A wiry guy with a permanent sheen of sweat on his forehead. He's always hovering, trying to keep the big spenders happy. He catches Anna by the elbow as she passes the kitchen door, his voice low but harsh. "Stay clear of the billionaire's table. He doesn't need you tripping over him." He jerks his head toward the corner where James Colton sits alone. Colton is 35, lean, with dark hair and eyes that don't miss much. His suit is understated but screams money, and his presence is like a magnet. People notice him without trying. He's scrolling through his phone, ignoring the room, but Anna catches his glance for half a second. She nods at Greg, her voice flat. Understood. She doesn't argue, doesn't explain. She just keeps moving. Before the chaos hits, there's a moment, a small one, but heavy. Anna is refilling a pitcher at the bar when she pauses, her eyes catching on a small photo, tucked into her apron pocket. It's old, creased, showing a younger Anna in fatigues, standing next to a group of soldiers in a dusty courtyard. The bartender, Mike, notices her staring. "Family?" he asks, wiping down a glass. Anna slips the photo back into her pocket, Her face unreadable, something like that, she says, and turns away. Mike doesn't push, nobody does. Anna isn't the kind to invite questions, and most people don't care enough to ask. But not everyone ignores her. A hostess, Jenna, a 22-year-old with a sharp tongue and a habit of sucking up to the rich guests, catches Anna by the bar later that night. She's twirling a strand of her hair, her eyes glinting with something mean. You know, Anna, you should smile more. You're bringing down the vibe. Nobody wants a gloomy waitress serving their $500 dinner. Jenna's voice is loud enough to draw a few glances from nearby tables. Anna sets the pitcher down. Her movements slow, deliberate. I'm here to work, not perform, she says. Her tone calm, but firm. Jenna smirks, undeterred. Yeah, well, maybe if you tried harder, you wouldn't look like you just rolled out of a shelter. A couple at a nearby table snickers, and Anna's hand pauses on the pitcher, her fingers tightening just enough to show a flicker of strain before she walks away. Hey, real quick, while this story's sinking in, grab your phone, hit that like button, and drop a comment below on Once Upon a Voice. Maybe share a time someone judged you wrong, made you feel small. It helps keep our channel alive, telling stories like Anna's for folks who've been there. And please hit subscribe to Once Upon a Voice. It's a small thing, but it means we can keep sharing these moments of truth. Alright, let's get back to what happened. Can you imagine the moment when everything changes? When the masks come off, and the truth crashes in? The night is rolling along, the restaurant buzzing with the usual mix of arrogance and wine. When the front doors slam open, 3 men in black ski masks burst in, their boots thudding on the polished floor, guns raised high. Everybody down. The leader shouts, his voice rough, like he's smoked a pack a day for years. The room explodes into chaos. Glasses shatter as guests dive under tables, their expensive suits and dresses dragging through spilled wine. Richard Vance yanks Candace down, his Rolex catching on the tablecloth, tearing it. Candace lets out a sharp cry, clutching her purse like it's her lifeline. Derek is already on his knees, muttering, "Take what you want, just don't shoot." Lauren's sobs are loud, her mascara streaking down her face. James Colton, the billionaire, freezes, his face pale, his fingers fumbling to pull off his watch and ring, ready to hand them over. Anna is in the center of the room, holding a tray of empty glasses. She doesn't drop it, she doesn't scream. She just stands there, her eyes scanning the robbers 1, 2, 3 like she's counting exits. The leader, a stocky guy with a scar above his eyebrow, zeroes in on her. He storms over, his gun aimed at her chest. "What's wrong with you? Get on the floor," he barks, his voice echoing. The other 2 robbers are shouting at the guests, waving their guns, demanding wallets and jewelry. A woman at a nearby table, her pearls clutched tight, whispers, "She's insane. Why isn't she moving?" Anna's grip on the tray is steady, her breathing slow, almost a calm. The leader steps closer, the barrel of his gun now inches from her forehead. "You deaf kneel." As the leader looms over her, a guest at a nearby table, a middle-aged woman in a velvet blazer, hisses under her breath, "She's going to ruin this for all of us." Her voice is low but venomous, her eyes darting between Anna and the gun. She clutches her husband's arm, her manicured nails digging into his sleeve. Why can't she just do what they say? Her husband, a balding man with a silk tie, nods, his whisper sharp, "She's nobody, she's going to get us shot." Anna's face doesn't change, but her fingers adjust the tray slightly, her knuckles brushing the edge. The room's tension is suffocating, the air thick with fear and judgment, every glare aimed at Anna, blaming her for daring to stand. Richard Vance, half hidden under his table, hisses through clenched teeth, "Don't be stupid, he'll shoot you." His voice is shaken, but it carries that same sneer, like Anna's an idiot for not obeying. Candace, her face twisted in panic, snaps, "You're going to get us all killed." Derek, still on the floor, adds, "Don't drag us down with you, you moron." Lauren's voice is a whimper, but it cuts just as deep. She's nobody. Why is she acting like she's something? The room is a storm of fear and contempt, every eye on Anna, judging her, blaming her. They don't want her to fight. They want her to break, to prove she's as small as they thought. Anna doesn't break. She exhales, slow and deliberate, her eyes locked on the leaders. In one smooth motion, she shifts her weight, stepping just outside the gun's line of fire. Before he can react, she grabs his wrist, twists it hard, and the gun hits the floor with a clatter. Her elbow comes down, fast, catching his jaw, and he drops like a sack of flour. The tray in her other hand doesn't even shake. She sets it down on a table, her movements precise, like she's just clearing a plate. The room gasps. A collective, "What just happened?" rippling through the air. The other 2 robbers freeze, their guns still raised, but their confidence cracked. Anna stands there, her posture loose but ready, her eyes never leaving them. In that frozen moment, a waiter named Tony, who's always been friendly to Anna, crawls out from behind a table, his face pale. "Anna, stop," he whispers, his voice shaking. "You're making it worse." He's young, barely 20, with a nervous habit of tugging at his collar. He's always shared tips with her, but now his eyes are wide with fear, his hands raised, like he's pleading, Just get down, please. You're not a cop. The guests nearby nod, their whispers growing louder. He's right. A man in a tuxedo mutters. She's out of control. Anna glances at Tony, her expression unreadable, then turns back to the robbers. Her silence isn't defiance, it's focus. But to the room, it looks like arrogance. Back in another life, Anna had been somewhere else, a dusty street in a war zone, the air thick with heat and the smell of diesel. She was 20, in fatigues, her rifle slung across her back. Her team was moving through a checkpoint, kids running nearby, shouting for candy. She had tossed a piece to a boy, his grin wide and gap-toothed, before her sergeant called her back to focus. That moment flashes through her now, unbidden, as she stands in Lissiel. She pushes it down, her hands steady, her focus sharp. The restaurant isn't a battlefield, but her body knows what to do. The second robber, a lanky guy with twitchy hands, snaps out of his shock. He charges at her, screaming, "You think you're a hero, bitch?" His gun is still in his hand, but his aim is sloppy, his steps panicked. The guests don't cheer. They turn on her. Candace, crouched behind a chair, shrieks. She's going to get us killed. Her voice is shrill, her hands shaking as she clutches her purse. Greg, the manager, is trembling, his face red with panic. "Stand down, Anna. Let the police handle it." Derek, still on the floor, mutters. She's out of her damn mind. Even Lauren, sobbing, manages to jab. She's nobody. She's going to ruin everything. Anna doesn't look at them. She ducks under the robber's wild swing, spins, and drives her foot into his stomach. He crashes through a glass table, the shatter loud enough to make half the room flinch. As the glass settles, a woman in a gold dress, her earrings dangling like chandeliers, stands up slightly, her voice dripping with disdain. Who does she think she is? Some action movie star. She's shaking, but her words are sharp, meant to cut. She's putting on a show, and we're all paying for it. Her husband, a heavy-set man with a Rolex matching Richards, nods. She's reckless. A waitress shouldn't be playing hero. Anna's hand pauses on the table where she'd set her tray, her fingers brushing the edge, but she doesn't turn. The room's hostility is palpable, a wave of resentment crashing. Over her they don't see courage. They see a nobody stepping out of line. The third robber is different. He doesn't rush in blindly. He pulls a knife, its blade catching the chandelier light, and moves toward her, slow and deliberate. "You're dead," he growls, lunging low, aiming for her side. Anna sidesteps, her movements fluid, like she's done this 1,000 times. She catches his wrist, twists it until the knife flips into her hand, and uses his momentum to slam him to the ground. His head hits the floor with a dull thud. It's over in 15 seconds. 3 men down, groaning or unconscious. The room stunned into silence. Anna stands over them, the knife in her grip, her breathing barely heavier than before. Her eyes are sharp, like they could cut through steel. Right then, a guest, an older man with a silver beard, his suit crumpled from crawling, points at Anna, his voice loud enough to carry. "She's dangerous. You saw how she moved." His wife, clutching a diamond bracelet, nods frantically. "She's not one of us. She's got to be some kind of plant, maybe working with them." The accusation hangs in the air, absurd but vicious, and a few heads turn, murmurs spreading. Anna sets the knife down carefully, her movements slow, deliberate, as if to prove she isn't a threat, but her eyes flick to the man, just for a second, and he shrinks back, his bravado faltering under her steady gaze. The police arrive minutes later, their radios crackling, their boots heavy on the floor. They cuff the robbers, dragging them out as they groan. The guests start to stand, their voices rising in nervous chatter. But the whispers about Anna don't stop. A man in a pinstriped suit, his tie askew, leans toward his date. Maybe she's a criminal herself. Normal people don't fight like that. Greg, the manager, is wiping sweat from his brow, his eyes narrow as he approaches Anna. "What the hell was that? What have you been hiding from us?" His voice is loud, accusing, like she's betrayed him by not being helpless. Candace, fixing her hair, adds, "She's trouble. I knew it the second I saw her." Anna doesn't respond. She just keeps clearing glasses, her hands steady, her face blank. One of the cops, a grizzled guy with a buzzcut and a scar on his cheek, stops dead. When he sees her, he lowers his radio, his eyes wide. "My God, Sergeant Anna Carter. I thought you retired." The room goes still, every head turning. Anna nods. Just once, her voice soft but clear. "I just wanted a normal life." The officer shakes his head, a faint smile breaking through. "Navy Special Forces, counterterrorism. You trained with my unit back in 18. Saved my ass in Kabul." The guests' faces change. Richard's mouth tightens, Candace's eyes widen. Derek stares at the floor. Lauren's laugh is gone, replaced by nervous fidgeting with her earrings. Anna doesn't say another word. She doesn't need to. As the police work, a woman in a silk scarf, her hands still trembling, approaches Anna cautiously, holding out a napkin. You dropped this," she says, her voice barely above a whisper. The napkin is one Anna had tucked into her apron, now crumpled on the floor. The woman's eyes are wide, not with judgment, but with something like awe. Anna takes the napkin, her fingers brushing the woman's, and nods slightly. Thanks, she says, her tone soft but steady. The woman hesitates, then backs away, her husband pulling her close, whispering something that makes her look down. It's the first kind gesture of the night, small but heavy, and Anna tucks the napkin back into her apron, her expression unchanged. But the judgment doesn't stop, not entirely. As the police clear the scene, a businessman at a corner table, his tie loosened, leans back and scoffs. At the end of the day, she's just a waitress. Nobody's going to believe she saved us. Candace, brushing wine stains off her dress, adds, she got lucky, that's all, probably some fluke. Richard nods, his voice low but sharp. She's still nobody. Doesn't change a thing. They're embarrassed, their egos bruised. Admitting Anna saved them means admitting they were wrong about her, and people like them don't do that. Anna hears every word, but she doesn't flinch. She just keeps working, stacking plates, her hands steady as ever. During the cleanup, Greg pulls Anna aside again, his face flushed with anger. You could have gotten us sued, he snaps, his hands gesturing wildly. You think you're some kind of vigilante. You're fired, Anna. Get your stuff and go. The room quiets, heads turning. Anna sets down the stack of plates. She's holding her movements slow, deliberate. You sure about that? She asks, her voice low, her eyes locking onto his. Greg falters, his bravado crumbling under her gaze. But he doubles down. You heard me out. A few guests smirk, Richard among them, as if Anna's defiance only proves their point. She doesn't argue, she just picks up her tray and walks to the back, her steps even, her silence louder than any protest. James Colton, the billionaire, hasn't spoken through it all. He's watched, his eyes tracking Anna's every move, his face unreadable. Now he stands, brushing off his suit, and walks toward her. The room watches, holding its breath. He stops in front of her, his presence filling the space like a storm cloud. I don't see a waitress, he says, his voice low but carrying to every corner of the room. I see the only person here who kept her nerve. He extends his hand. Anna looks at it, then at him, her expression calm but searching. She shakes his hand, her grip firm, her eyes never wavering. From today, he says louder, I appoint her head of security for my corporation. A murmur runs through the room. Richard's jaw drops. Candace's glass slips, spilling more wine. Derek looks away, his face red. As Colton speaks, a young busboy, barely 18, who'd been hiding behind the bar, steps forward, his hands shaking. I saw what you did, he says to Anna, his voice cracking but loud enough for the room to hear. You saved us, all of us. His eyes are wide, his face flushed with admiration. The guests shift uncomfortably, some looking away, others glaring at the boy like he's betrayed them. Anna meets his gaze, her expression softening for the first time that night. She nods, just once, and says, just doing my job. The busboy swallows hard, then steps back, his courage spent. The moment hangs in the air, a crack in the room's hostility, but it doesn't last. The next morning, the headlines hit like a tidal wave. Billionaire chooses waitress as head of security after robbery. The story spreads across social media. Security footage from Lissiel leaking online. Anna's takedown is replayed in slow motion. Her calm face, a stark contrast to the chaos around her. The comments are endless. Some call her a hero. Others cling to their doubts, but the truth is out. Richard Vance's hedge fund takes a hit when a viral post calls out his Bordeaux sneer. This guy mocked the woman who saved his life. The caption reads, with a clip of his smug face. His firm issues a panicked statement, but clients are already pulling out, their trust shaken. Candace's charity gala, set for the next month, loses its main sponsor after her dollar store comment goes viral. The backlash is swift. Her socialite friends distance themselves, their texts going unanswered. A week later, Anna walks into a boardroom for her first day as head of security. The executives, all in tailored suits, go quiet as she enters. One of them, a man with a slick smile, had been at Lissiel that night, seated near Richard's table. He laughed at Candace's dollar store jab. Now he stands to offer her a chair, his hand trembling slightly. Miss Carter, he says, his voice overly polite. We're lucky to have you. Anna nods, taking the seat without a word. Her desk has that same creased photo, now in a small frame. She doesn't mention it, doesn't need to. The room's deference is new, but her steady gaze is the same. Derek's crypto startup doesn't fare much better. A tweet from a tech blogger with 1 million followers reads, Crypto bro mocked a Navy vet who saved his ass. Investors, you cool with this? His funding round stalls? His inbox floods with demands for explanations. Lauren, who'd laughed about Anna's shoes, goes silent online. Her Instagram locked down after screenshots of her comments spread. The consequences aren't loud or dramatic, just the quiet weight of truth catching up. Anna doesn't see most of it. She's already at her new job, in a sleek office, high above the city. Her desk bare except for that same creased photo of her in fatigues. She doesn't talk about the headlines, doesn't post about the attention. She just does her work, same as always. At a security briefing, one of Colton's aides, a young woman with a nervous smile, approaches Anna after the meeting. I was at Lissiel, she says, her voice low, her hands twisting together. I didn't say anything that night, but I saw how they treated you. I'm sorry. Anna looks at her, her expression unreadable, then nods. It's done, she says, her tone gentle but final. The aide hesitates, then hands Anna a small card with a handwritten note. Thank you. Anna tucks it into her pocket next to the old photo and walks away. The gesture is small, but it lands like a stone in still water, rippling through her silence. But something has shifted. The way she moves through a room now, the way her eyes scan for threads, it isn't invisible anymore. People notice. They defer to her, their voices quieter when she speaks. In meetings, her suggestions carry weight, her presence enough to shift the mood. When James Colton walks in, his nod to her is enough to silence the chatter. She isn't just the woman who took down 3 robbers. She's the woman who changed the room without saying a word. Her silence isn't weakness anymore, it's power. Years ago, Anna walked away from that life medals, pinned to a uniform she'd packed away. Missions she'd never talk about, a weight she didn't want to carry. She'd chosen a small apartment, a quiet job, a life where she didn't have to be a hero. But that night in Lissiel, when the doors slammed open and the guns came out, she didn't have a choice. It wasn't about proving anything. It was just who she was. And now, standing at the window of her new office, the city sprawling below, she doesn't feel like she's won. She just feels like herself, steady and sure, the way she's always been. One evening, as Anna leaves the office, a street vendor outside the building calls out to her, holding up a cheap bracelet. For you, lady, he says, his grin wide. The moment hits her like a wave. She freezes, her hand halfway to her bag, the memory of that dusty market flooding back. She takes the bracelet, her fingers brushing the beads, and hands him a bill. Keep the change, she says, her voice soft. The vendor nods, unaware of the weight of that small gesture. Anna slips the bracelet into her pocket, next to the photo and the note, and keeps walking, her steps steady, her eyes forward. For everyone watching on Once Upon a Voice, who's ever been looked down on, who's ever been told they're not enough, this is your story. You know what it's like to stand tall when the world wants you small. You're not wrong for it. You're not alone. You've carried the weight, and you're still here. Where are you watching from? Leave a comment below on Once Upon a Voice, and hit follow to walk with us through heartbreak, betrayal, and finally, healing.